Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. I hope my voice will not give up on me. I came back a little sick from Maasin and Tacloban yesterday afternoon. And then I had 2 masses in a row, both in East Service Road. So it was not the sickness that was killing me last night, but the traffic. And I foresee that during Simbang Gabi, it's gonna be worse. That's why many years ago, I have decided not to accept Simbang Gabi from certain parishes at night because the traffic is just hopeless. But we hope that we won't have that problem here during the morning. The readings today, I would like to talk about 3 things essentially. One has to do with mountain. Let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. The other has to do with darkness. And the third has to do with wakefulness. When we talk about a mountain is always both a challenge, both difficulty, images of difficulty, and images of glory. An image of difficulty. In 1989, I brought a team from Don Bosco Mandaluyong to climb Mount Apo, and we joined the Federation Climb, Mountaineering Federation. We were about 330 plus, and at about 3,000 feet, we were stopped short by Commander Bensar Sarabia of the New People's Army. And then they confiscated everything we had, radios, everything we brought. And somebody came to me and said, Father, you are being invited to go to their camp. What that means is you're being held hostage. So I was held hostage together with about 8, some of them foreigners from Ireland, from England, and from New Zealand. And the rest of us were Filipinos. I was the only priest. And at the point when Commander Bensar Sarabia met us and blocked us with heavy firearms, the question was, asaman og pari? Nasan yung pare? Because I was the only priest. So they wanted to make the world know that they were still up and about. So they just wanted media mileage. The only thing is I ate kamote for 3 full days. Now, a mountain speaks of difficulty. A mountain speaks of challenge. But a mountain also speaks about glory. When you meet the rising sun atop Mount Pulag, and you are there at the summit, and you are above the clouds, and you see the sun gently rising from the east, it's a moment of glory. It's a peak experience, what Abraham Maslow calls a peak human experience, which is very close to a religious experience. It is a moment of glory. The Lord tells us today, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. And the mountain that Isaiah speaks of speaks about people breaking weapons and arms and turning them into plowshares, and never to go on training for war anymore. Isaiah speaks of hope. So when the Lord talks on the first Sunday of Advent about going up to the mountain of the Lord, we're not talking here about the difficulty of the mountain, but the glory that awaits those who hope and work with might and main to reach the summit, to reach the mountain of God, where there will be no more training for war. When you're down in the plains, you think about narratives, the narrative of the empire, the narrative of the emperor, When you talk about the narrative of the empire, it's about India and Pakistan fighting over Kashmir, that no man's land. Nothing much there, but they want to fight over a mountain. When you talk about the narrative of the empire, you talk about Vladimir Putin, who wants to restore the old Soviet Socialist republics, the old Russian Empire. And they never stop. In history, they have been trying to do it. Today, the Lord tells us not to dwell in stories of darkness and remain in the narrative of the empire. But we are told to talk about the narrative of God the Father, the narrative of the gospel, the narrative of redemption, the narrative of salvation, the narrative of glorification. Once upon a time, I used to complain about babies crying in church. Now I have to complain about dogs barking in church. Anyway, the point I would like to go back to. In the second reading, we are told by St. Paul to be awake. It is now the moment for us to wake up from sleep. Because there is so much darkness in our lives. This is the difficulty of the mountain. The reality is that there are greedy people, ambitious politicians, greedy neighbors who hug the street and they have 3 or 4 cars that they cannot fit in their garage. And so they leave it in the road. And therefore all the rest are inconvenienced. This is happening here and everywhere around the country. We talk about being in the darkness of fake news, the darkness of wokeism, not wakefulness, the darkness of fake news. And you know very well that in the United States, they are divided right smack in the middle between the Democrats and the Republicans, and it all depends on what TV network they are watching. If they are watching Fox, then they definitely are pro-Trump. If they are watching ABC, CBS, then they're definitely for the other side. And when in the age of social media, you go to a website or to a Facebook page or to a TikTok account, then the algorithm of the social media will lead you into more fake news of one side over the other. In the Philippines, if you follow only the social media of the yellows, then you hear the fake news of the yellows. If you go to the social media of Marcos, then you hear the fake news of the Marcoses. If you go to the fake news of Duterte, then you only get the fake news of that part of society. We are a divided people. We live in darkness. Today, the first Sunday of Advent tells us we have to go up to the mountain of the Lord. And the mountain of the Lord means to say that you have to say goodbye to darkness and to wake up to the reality of the light that comes from God. Not the false light that comes from GMA7 or ABS-CBN. Not the false lights that come from propaganda. Everybody in Russia believes Putin is a hero, maybe some of you even, because they hear only Russia Today and the propaganda of the Russian government. Many of them support the government. They don't really love Russia. What explains the almost 1 million who left Russia after the mobilization, so-called partial mobilization was done? What explains the fact that so many of us, to the tune of several thousands a day, go out of Naiya every day to pursue other things? Is it because we are non-supportive of this government or that government? Or, according to sociologists, it is because we Filipinos love our families much more than we love our country. And this is right. Filipinos are family-centered. And this is exactly the reason why family dynasties and corruption thrives. Sapagkat pagka-pamilya ang pag-uusapan, walang masama. Pang pamilya ito eh. Kaya ang galing ng family rubbing alcohol eh. Hindi lang pang sports, pang pamilya pa. Pagka pang pamilya, walang ibang konsiderasyon. Walang moral laws. Walang batas. Butas ang batas pag pamilya ang pag-uusapan. Today, in the midst of all this bad news, we are told to go up the mountain of the Lord. That mountain is not a mountain of hostage taking, like I experienced in 1989. That mountain is not a mountain of difficulty and challenges alone. It is also a mountain of glory, the glory that awaits those who are awake, not woke. The problem of young people now is you listen too much to certain entertainers who are wokeists. They love one-liners. Ikaw na ang magaling. Pag narinig mo yung ikaw na ang magaling, kansilado ka na. These are wokeist ideologues, and we hang on the lips of these people. Nag-iimbento ng mga one-liners. For example, Black Lives Matter. Hello? What about brown lives? What about yellow lives? What about white lives? All lives matter because Black Lives Matter is a wokeist ideological line, which will take me about an hour to explain. So my dear friends, Advent is a season of hope, a very short season because Christmas is fast approaching. Christmas is the historical coming of Christ. However, the coming of Christ did not happen only in history. It will happen also in glory. And therefore we are hoping for that. We are waiting for that. The first and the second are not difficult to understand. But the third is what we're missing terribly. He's coming in mystery. He's coming in our midst right here, right now. He's coming through the church. He's coming in and through the liturgy. He's coming in and through the sacraments, in your participation in public worship. And therefore, at this point in time, I cannot be happy for those who have gotten so much used to watching the Mass on their TV screens, because they're missing the whole point of participating in the mystery of the ongoing coming of Christ in the here and the now, in the celebration and the official act of worship of God, His church, and His community. You may forget all I have told you except one. Advent is all about hope. When you are talking about coming, then you should also talk about waiting. Those who wait actively are people of hope. Those who wait passively are those who are just parang pehuan tamad na nakahiga sa ilalim ng puno ng bayabas, na naghihintay na lamang na malaglag ang bunga ng bayabas. Waiting in hope means waiting actively and doing what it takes to hope actively, coming to church, participating actively in the worship of God that is official. Advent is all about hope. Forget about everything else I said, but not this. Let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. We are hoping for a day when all the weapons will be turned into plowshares, and when there will be no more training for war.